What is happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. In this episode, it's mainly a Liverpool preview, but lots of things to discuss before that. Mickey van der Ven's interview, Son documentary, touching on the January window. Brennan Johnson could leave the club in January. So as always with Tottenham, when you think, no midweek game, it'd be easier, you can relax, think about the game ahead. No, boom, lots of news as always. Let's introduce my panel for tonight then, one by one. Firstly, Joseph joining us from England. Joseph, how are you doing, my friend?
Hi, Harry. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm doing well. Obviously, coming up to Christmas, very busy time of year. I'm sure for everybody, as well as obviously in the Premier League. A lot of fixtures for Tottenham, and it hasn't been an easy time for us all. But yeah, looking forward to getting into it all, previewing this Liverpool game, and talking everything Tottenham.
Should be great, Joseph. Thank you. And we've got Martin, who does join us from the UK, but I believe grew up in Slovakia. Am I right, Martin?
Almost. I'm joining you from Slovakia as well.
Oh, you are? You are.
Yes.
Surprising, there. Great stuff.
Good evening, everyone. Lovely to be on. Lovely to see a new face in Joseph. So, yeah, happy to be here.
Good stuff. Happy to have you. Let me tell you that. Thank you so much for coming on. And Dustin, thank you for joining us as well from Singapore. How you doing?
All right. It's 3 a.m. here. I normally have to report the time just so everyone knows the dedication that people in my time zone go through to watch Spurs.
Yeah, Dustin, I'll be fast asleep right now. Got you. Harry's got you up for a podcast at 3 a.m.
Commitment. I love crazy. It. I know, honestly, it's talk about commitment and dedication, and a lot of people will be sitting there thinking, I work hard, and no doubt you probably do, but this is something else. I think 3 a.m. Just picture yourself in that position. I mean, you can give it all a big talk, but I'm not sure with any of us really. I certainly wouldn't be able to do that. Dustin, thank you very much. So, before we get into it, I just want to say if you're listening on YouTube and you're listening live, please get involved. Even if you're listening after as well, you can subscribe if you're new, and you can still get in touch via the usual ways. You can follow me at Harry Scarfe across all socials. Let us know what you think of the channel, of the podcast, or drop me an email, scarfharry323@gmail.com. You have a question as well for the next podcast. But if you're listening via audio, such as podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, just some to name a few of your major ones, please drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Just come through breaking news before coming on air to do with the channel. So there's been statistics released for football fan channels on YouTube in terms of views in 2025. Well, I'm just looking to find the channel now, and we've actually done really well. So we're the 77th highest viewed channel in 2025. So I'm very happy with that, and beat some big names in there as well that some people would have heard of. You've also got the wonderful Ben Bowman of Tottenham. We're ahead of him, and many others like that. So fantastic to be ahead of them. Leicester Fan TV, even like proper fan like channels close to the club. So thank you very much for the continued support. Like I said, a lot to go through tonight. And by that, it wouldn't be possible without fantastic guests and all you guys listening and contributing. So from me to you, thank you very, very much. Let's start with Mickey van der Ven's interview then, because he sat down with Gary Neville for the overlap and revealed some big things. So firstly, I've got a quote here from Van der Ven on Ange Postecoglou's system, of course, his former manager. Van der Ven said, when the results were getting down, Ange was really focused on and believed in his system. And even until today, I still believe in his system because he plays some unbelievable football. The system works, but at some points, we just needed to adapt a little bit more than we did at the point. In some games, we're 1-0 up. We can't keep playing our football. Sometimes we needed to sit back and make sure there's nothing was coming through us. We didn't have a plan B. Joseph, what do you make of those comments from Van der Ven?
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a really weird one to hear one of your players say that about, a time under a manager, and talking about how the players kind of had to go to him to say, look, we need to play a bit more defensive. It's a weird one to hear. I mean, I think a lot of Tottenham fans look back at Ange's time fondly, obviously because we won the trophy. But without that trophy, I think we would all look at him as one of the worst managers we've seen. I mean, especially in my lifetime, possibly in a long time, because of how poor we were in the league and how the football was so attacking that we saw some awful performances. And yes, he's right to say we did have a couple of very good performances. But again, there was some performances in there where you were just shaking your head, scratching your head, thinking, what are we doing? Why are we setting up this way? So when you're hearing that the players kind of had to come to him and almost say, we've got a big game away in Frankfurt, let's just play more defensive. It's kind of worrying that your players are having to do that. Now, obviously, it's good that they took that upon themselves and not just, blindly follow Ange and it possibly lead to, maybe getting knocked out of that competition. but yeah, it was very interesting to hear. I think the interview as a whole was very interesting. Obviously, hearing from one of the vice captains at Tottenham, and yeah, so it was really interesting. But again, kind of slightly worrying in a sense. Obviously, that tenure of Ange is over now, so we've got to think about what Frank's going to be doing rather than Ange. But yeah, it was very interesting, and again, something I did not expect to hear. I was, when Tottenham did kind of change and started being a bit more defensive, I thought, Ange just kind of figured out that we can't just play this free-flowing attacking football every game. We can't invert the wing backs every game. Well, it sounds like the players were the ones who figured that out, not him. So yeah, definitely an interesting quote and definitely an interesting thing to hear.
Joseph, thank you. Martin, would you say it's pretty damning? Pretty quite, Van Ven was really honest. I mean, you always get players that reveal some things, but this is not the only area where he went for it really and revealed quite a bit.
In a sense, yes, that a player that is actively still at the club is talking about a former manager that departed, 6 months ago, I think it is now. So it is quite damning that he has publicly stated this. But again, it's nothing surprising because Ange Postecoglou made it quite clear in all the interviews that this is his style of play and that he won't change. So at the same time, it's nothing too damning. But if we take that as a whole, that where we finished in the table and how close we were to actually not winning a trophy and it being so poor, like Joseph mentioned, it could have been one of the worst tenures we've ever seen. It's certainly interesting. Certainly interesting.
You can say that again. Thank you. And Dustin, also want to get your thoughts on the interview as a whole, but I've got another quote from Mickey van der Ven. He said, I want to be one of the best centre-backs in the world, maybe the best. For you, where does he rank amongst those best centre-backs? I mean, he kind of put himself down a little bit and went, look, I'm nowhere near there yet. Would that be fair to say?
I think he has attributes that, his speed is one thing. That it's very rare that you have someone of that size that's the fastest in the league. So I think that he has, a physical attribute that would actually put him ahead of many centre backs. And in fact, you would say that, the way Ange set us up, there are very few centre backs that would have been able to play that style if it wasn't for his recovery pace. As badly as we conceded during Ange's tenure, without Mickey van der Ven's pace, we would have conceded and lost a lot more games because no one in the world has a centre back that can basically outpace Salah.
That's true. That's very, very true. I mean, it's called Salah and AFCON.
I think I have a slightly different perspective on kind of Mickey van der Ven's and Romero going to Ange. I think that senior players do this with coaches all the time, just that most of the time you don't hear about it because the coach is still at the club, or it isn't it's not a direct question that's asked to them. I think that it's a push and pull between senior players and Ange, and I think part of it as well is that they are the people that have the authority and have the confidence. Romero is a World Cup winner, and we all know the Dutch players are always famously in their coaches' faces about tactics. So I think that it is it's not out of the realms of possibility, and I think that it probably would have been in Ange's head as well. It's just a question of the players going up to you and saying we need to defend a bit more so that he can also take a step back from his philosophy without diluting the overall message. Is that we need to play brave, but we also need to be a little more pragmatic and take the trophy that's actually achievable.
Dustin, thank you. Can I stick with you? Did you see the recent Shimin Song documentary?
Yes. Yeah, I've just finished a pack of tissues, but basically it was I got to see him in Asia, and I think that for a lot of the fans that didn't get to see him when he left in Korea, I think that it was a nice squaring of the circle for everyone to get to see him again, for the mural to be up, and the documentary also kind of they sat on the footage for a long time, right? Of the stuff in the locker room, him talking about him in the hotel room. I think that the line really that says it all is I had offers, but I never wanted to play against Spurs. And I think, there was a lot of in his final season, there were already a lot of fans that went like, he is getting to an age where I'm not sure he can continue doing it for us, and the fact that he could have left, he could have gone to a Premier League club and went, no, I'm not going to play against Spurs. I'll go to another country entirely.
I mean, it's quite something, isn't it? How loyal he was, and it wasn't the perfect start, for him at all at Spurs. But no, it was a really good documentary. Absolutely, I'd recommend go checking it out. So yeah, thank you, Dustin. I thought I'd ask you about that. I recognise it is fast moving, but there's quite a few things that I do want to discuss tonight. Brennan Johnson's another one. So today we found out from several sources, including BBC Sport, they say that Spurs are open to letting Brennan Johnson leave should they receive a suitable offer. Going on to say Crystal Palace are currently leading their way in the interest of the Welsh international. Of course, his goal ultimately winning the Europa League for Tottenham last year. Martin, I'll start with you. How do you view this? For you, Brennan Johnson is a player that we should be listening to offers for. Do you think that's the right thing to do in January?
Yes, going forward, I think it's the right thing to do. I actually think Brennan Johnson is a great player. It's not a coincidence that he was a top scorer for us last season. I think it's fantastic at picking the right space, and his first time finishing is really good. However, if you are Tottenham Hotspur and you are trying to build teams down, I think that's where his attributes don't shine, and he struggles to beat a man, and he struggles to deliver a pinpoint cross when he's not at a byline. So there's definitely a lot of negatives to his game when he's playing, trying to beat a low block. So a team like Crystal Palace coming in for him makes a lot of sense. They play in the Conference League as well, so I think that, and they definitely need squad depth as well. So that does seem a realistic move. I have nothing against Brendan Johnson in terms of personality. I saw a snippet of the Son documentary, and I saw Brendan Johnson crying, so he definitely got some +5 loyalty from me. So yeah, I think personality-wise, he'll be a big miss in a change room. I know that he's really good friends with James Maddison, but if we want to move forward as a club, I think that we need a different profile of a winger than Brendan Johnson.
Okay, thank you. Joseph, how do you feel? Of course, you've been quite vocal about Brendan Johnson. You've been reasonable as well in having you put it across, but I know that you do have feelings on this. How do you feel at the moment with these recent links suggesting that he could leave the club as early as January?
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Martin says. I think he fit the Ange system really well. I don't, he kind of come in at the back post, can finish off, some chances, and he really did fit the system. Obviously, Frank plays a completely different system with his wingers being very isolated, and we haven't seen Johnson kind of be that one-on-one winger that he would need to be in this system. I think if Tottenham want to grow and they want to push forward, then yeah, it is the right kind of sale. It's the kind of player that we would have to move on from. And again, it doesn't mean that we have to see Johnson's, time at Tottenham as a failure. Again, he worked in the system that Ange had, and he obviously scored many goals last season, was our top scorer, and obviously won us the Europa League. So he's always going to be, somewhat of a club legend for a lot of people. I just think if you look at it in terms of what he can do for Tottenham going forward, I don't see him fitting in this system with Frank. I mean, maybe again, obviously, there's a whole nother conversation about what's going to happen with Frank over the next 6-7 months and whatever, however long. Maybe he could obviously stay at the club and succeed Frank, and maybe something else. If another manager was to come in, maybe he could kind of get back to that form that we saw last year. But I don't know. I think if Tottenham want to keep on climbing, they want to kind of get back into that top 4 race and kind of solidify themselves there, I think you do need to be looking elsewhere than Johnson. And I think Crystal Palace is a perfect landing spot for Johnson. I mean, Crystal Palace, I think their second top goal scorer this season is Daniel Munoz with 3 after Jean-Philippe Mateta. They clearly need a goal scorer. And we saw from last season that Johnson can be that. So I think it'll be a great signing for them. I think it'll be a good step for Johnson as well. Obviously, yeah, you would say it's maybe a step down for now, but he can refine some form, and then you never know where his career can go. So he's definitely not finished as a player. He's got a lot to give. He's a young guy. He's a decent footballer. I just don't think he will be the right player for Tottenham moving forward.
What price do you think this will be at? Where can you see the Palace kind of money off a company? Like, what amount will it be, and what do you think Spurs would be interested by?
And that's where it's tough. Obviously, I think Tottenham need to accept they would have to take a bit of a hit. Obviously, they spent around £50 million, I think it was, on Brennan Johnson. which seems astronomical now. Maybe around 25 to 30 you can maybe get. Obviously, again, it depends. When we had Daniel Levy, obviously he wanted to try and not lose as much as possible, so he wouldn't be willing to part ways with a player unless he felt like he was getting a decent fee. Whereas now, obviously, with Vinay, with the Lewis family, with Johan Lange, we'll have to see how more lax they are in terms of letting these players leave and what kind of fees they can get. I think realistically, you're going to be looking at most 25 to 30 million. But yeah, I mean, you never know. There's obviously players that Tottenham are going to want to look at in the future. I know, obviously, there's been a big link for years about Adam Wharton. I'm not saying that you can get him in January. I doubt you can. But maybe there's some kind of clause they can include. Maybe there's something they can use Brennan Johnson with if Crystal Palace really want him. You never know. There's something maybe Tottenham could do with Adam Wharton in that. Maybe, a future release clause for Spurs. I don't know, that there's so many different kind of clauses that clubs can create. So I think it's definitely time to see Johnson leave. Obviously, he's not getting on the pitch enough for Tottenham as it is right now. Even with the kind of the poor situation Tottenham find themselves in with the winger situation. Obviously, Kudus has kind of been our only real performer from a wide position. And on the left, we've seen Johnson play a couple of times on the left. We've seen Odebear and Tell, and no one can really make that position theirs. But Johnson's still being left on the bench, and he's not really getting the minutes at all. So it's time for him to go. And I think 30 million, I'd take your hand off. I'd shake your hand and take the money and go and reinvest it in January.
Joseph, thank you. Dustin, anything to add on the Johnson situation? Some people go crazy to sell, Tottenham's top scorer last year, the guy that won us the Europa League, which I think is the right thing to do. It's fair to say it hasn't been, maybe as we thought it would be, or certainly Brennan Johnson maybe hope would be so far under Frank. It hasn't been good for him at all.
No, I think that the biggest problem you have is that his position is the same position as Kudus, and Kudus is our main was our main source of creativity early in the season. So, and Brennan Johnson, plays better down that position, although they do very different things. So it's one of those things where to accommodate Kudus, Brennan Johnson, they can't really play in the same position there. And even if they did, the way that we create attacks is completely different. So he was a very specific fit for Ange's system. But if Frank doesn't play that system at all, then his lack of versatility and other attributes don't lend themselves well to what Frank needs him to do. So if we're not, breaking down the side, making cutbacks where he can arrive as a late arriver to the box, then, that's his niche. And if Frank doesn't play that style, then, even if he was getting minutes, he wouldn't necessarily have the output that he had last season. So as much as, I thank him for the goal that won us the Europa League, it for his sake, he should get minutes as well. And the other thing I'll say about whether going to Crystal Palace is an upgrade or not, they are in 5th and we're 11th, so he might see it as an upgrade.
I mean, it's a harsh reality, isn't it, at the moment of how we're playing, but also how tight it is compared in the league. Because really, if you look, I was looking at it, the whole league is literally 1 or 2 points, no joke, between every single team, apart from, well, originally it was Arsenal, but even now that's 2 points. The only gap I think is Palace, isn't it, and Villa, that's 5 points, and then you've got Wolves, and then, Burnley above, where there's, I think, a 8-point gap now as well. That's the only 2 gaps at all in the league. It's that tightly congested, which you've never seen before. Of course, still early days. We haven't even got to Christmas yet. Close, but not there yet. Before we move on, quick couple of shout outs to people in the YouTube comments. There's a couple of people there's a lot more people that listening live, but a couple have put comments in. Big up to Spurs Diehards YouTube channel, going there quite a bit. It says good evening, Harry, the panel, etc. Big up to regular, for he comes on a lot from Frankfurt in Philip. He says, evening all, great panel and great chat. He's put quite a few questions in here that we'll get to later. Unfortunately, he said that he's struggling with an awful flu bug this week. It's fair to say that's going around. But he says, apart from that, all good. Looking forward to Liverpool. Oof, that's saying something. He goes on to say, can we just include Brennan in a deal for Adam Wharton? # hope. I mean, I think we all wouldn't mind that at all. I think we all like Adam Wharton. I think it's fair to say, as Spurs fans and everyone on this panel. But before we get on to the Liverpool preview and I bring on the Liverpool fan, January then, because Spurs play a lot being in Europe, there isn't much time for conversations about the Jan window. And a lot of people say, yeah, but Spurs don't do a lot in the window anyway. But I think we all hope that we'll do a lot. So I think it's important we have these discussions, raise the standards as a fan to create these conversations. Joseph, I'll kick it off with you. I mean, I know we'd want to sign, 23 world-class players and transform this football club, but within reason, what do Tottenham need, firstly, position-wise in January that is realistic, achievable?
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolutely massive window. It's clear to see that Tottenham do have plenty of deficiencies in the squad. Obviously, again, you can't fill all of those in 1 month in this January window. And we know that we've heard many times that it's very difficult to get deals done in January. So obviously, again, we have to be patient. We have to hope that this new leadership group of Vinay and Johan and Paratici, and they can kind of deliver us some quality players that are desperately needed. I mean, we've heard Frank say that, we're going to be active in January. We need to get signings through the door. So, yeah, I mean, it's hopeful. It's exciting being a Spurs fan right now. We just got to hope they deliver from what they say. In terms of, actual positions, I think left winger is a must. I think left back is a must. I think the fact that Udogie, obviously, he's had his injury issues this season. He's had it, for a while now, last couple of years at Tottenham, which has been difficult for Spurs. And other than Jed Spence being the only kind of capable left back, maybe you could say Ben Davis, but even then, I wouldn't really put him at left back. I think at best he's probably a backup centre back option, in my opinion. I think it's a must to get a left back through the door. We've had some links to a couple of different players, Nathaniel Brown being one of them from Frankfurt, which I think would be a great signing. But again, it's also the left wing position, and that's the one that I think a lot of Spurs fans are excited about. But I just think we need to be cautious because of what we saw in the summer. We saw what happened with the Gibbs White saga was very frustrating. The Eze one was completely embarrassing from a Tottenham point of view. We've seen this in a couple of past years, and in the group chat we're always talking about possible signings for Tottenham, and I think we're all kind of thinking, oh yeah, it would be great for Spurs to maybe look at Semenyo from Bournemouth or Kenan Yildiz from Juventus. And I just think we need to slow our roll a little bit and realise that these players are going to want to play for top clubs. Are Tottenham right now a top club that they're going to want to come to? For me personally, I find it hard to believe. With all everything we're hearing about Semenyo, that he's kind of got Tottenham chasing him, but City and Liverpool and Manchester United are also looking at him.
How often do we do this, Joseph? Sorry to interrupt, but how often do we chase? Do we admire? Do we look at this? Different dava, basically, but don't get it done.
Well, this is the thing, because unfortunately, we've got to realise that we're shopping in a different market. These players like Semenyo, I mean, he's got the pick of the bunch. Is he really going to pick Tottenham? Like, if we're all sitting there, if we were all footballers, would we be picking Tottenham right now? Obviously, without us being Spurs fans, would we pick Spurs? I'd struggle to if I'm.
He's an Arsenal fan as well. That's the thing.
Exactly. So
haven't we learned from Eze? Like, don't give an Arsenal fan an opportunity to screw up Spurs window.
Exactly, yeah. And this is what I mean. We're going to be, as much as we want Semenyo, when you've got City coming in for him, when you've got Liverpool coming in for him, as well as obviously, there is some space for these players, especially at Liverpool. I mean, with Salah possibly going out the door, Liverpool need a winger, and Semenyo comes in and becomes a starter there. He'd 100% pick Liverpool over Tottenham. Now, obviously, I'd love to be proved wrong. I just find it hard to believe. And this is the thing, obviously, again, talking in our group chats and things like that, people are saying about Yildiz. Obviously, I'm partly a Juventus fan. I watch a lot of Juventus football. Yildiz is an unbelievable player. He would be a perfect signing for Tottenham, a young, exciting player. He's carried Juve this season. But for me, if I'm him, I mean, I don't have to leave Juve. But if I am going to leave Juve, I'm going to look at Arsenal. I'm going to look at Liverpool. I'm going to look at Manchester City. I'm going to look at Real Madrid, Barcelona, the top clubs. Moving to Tottenham is just a sidestep. It's not really, I'm not getting any better. I'm not going to a better club. My career might not further at Tottenham. So even then, if Tottenham is the only option, well, maybe I'd just stay at Juve for another 6 months and then wait and see who comes in for me in the summer. So I don't know. I think we need to dampen our expectations a little. I think, there's a whole kind of feeling, an agenda. I mean, Mickey van der Ven spoke about it, didn't he, in the interview, kind of saying about how, even his friends laughed off about him going to Tottenham, about Tottenham don't win trophies and all of this. And it is a real thing. It is a thing that I think a lot of people, I mean, these players have grown up with that idea about Tottenham. So yeah, I think we just need to wait and see. Hopefully they can deliver something, but I'm trying not to get too optimistic, because I got optimistic last summer when I heard about the Morgan Gibbs White deal, and it all kind of blew up in our faces. So yeah, we'll see. It's a massive window, and again, the Levy family have kind of promised us that there will be business done. So we need to see that. We need to see that business, and we need to see some, because Tottenham are not in a good spot right now. We really aren't. And the inconsistencies and where we are in the league, it's a dangerous, slippery league this year. And if we don't kind of buck up our ideas, we could be dragged into an unfortunate position that I guess a lot of Tottenham fans wouldn't want to accept.
No, we don't want that at all, do we?
Joseph, do you not feel that with Paratici there's like the Juve connection there? I mean, we did get like Bentancur and Kulu from Juve in the winter window. So do you feel that there's any leverage that can be extended from that connection?
I mean, possibly, Dustin. I think it's hard, obviously, because, Paratici obviously had he's obviously had this ban and the issues he had. They were all at Juventus. It was obviously other parts of that leadership team that also got banned globally from doing business. So it's a tough one. I think the one thing I would say is that Bentancur and Kulusevski were two players that Juve were looking to offload. Now, Yildiz, obviously Juve are doing everything they can to keep him. Whether he will stay, we'll see. He's obviously not looking to sign a new deal right now, but his deal runs until the end of next year. So if they decide they can't get him to sign a new deal, they will look at offloading him in the summer. But again, for me, it's more, I'm thinking more of a Yildiz point of view. There's other teams that are interested. Arsenal have shown appreciation of Yildiz. If I'm him, that seems like a better place to go right now than going to Tottenham. So that's what worries me more. Again, for me, he'd be the dream signing for Tottenham on that left wing. I think he's the perfect profile. But obviously, again, it's convincing him to want to come to Tottenham. And then it's also paying the fee. Tottenham, I know we've spent big money on players like Solanke, on Kudus, but this would exceed that. It will be 70 to 80 million pounds at least, I'd imagine, possibly even more. So it will be a tough one. But if Tottenham really want to, dine at the top table, and they want to, be a big club, they want to prove that they, want to show us what their expectations are and what the future holds, it's the type of player you want to go and sign.
Joseph, thank you. Martin, do you have confidence in these same owners but new look board, because they give it the big talk? Can they get the business done that's needed to help Tottenham and Thomas Frank in January?
Yeah, I can't really say. We'll have to wait and see. That's all we've got for Tottenham.
Do you have confidence, though? Do you believe they can get things done?
Well, I hope they can get things done. If I have the confidence, there's no proof that they can, if that makes sense. Like,
right, okay.
There hasn't been a single transfer window that we've had without Levy. So we just have to wait and see. Especially that Semenyo one's going to be very interesting. But again, like Joseph and Dustin have already mentioned, that Semenyo is the one picking, and we're definitely on the bottom of the list of teams that he will be looking at. So if they can do some business, that would be fantastic, especially that left wing position. And maybe, that goalkeeper spot might start heating up by the time we enter January. Maybe it will silence down. There's so many things that will change really fast in January. So I don't have confidence in them at this very minute in time, but maybe they can prove all us Spurs fans wrong.
I'd love that. I think we'd all love that. Dustin, you're always, come with a sensible approach. Do you have confidence that we can, get things done in January, actually deliver and help the manager?
Well, we have nothing to base it upon, because we've always had Levy kind of micromanaging everything. So this is the first post-Levy transfer window, and I think it's very much us seeing how much the Lewis family will really step out now. They don't have a scapegoat to take all of the heat if the transfer window doesn't go as expected. And I think that there are a couple of things that we definitely need to do differently, and it's not just strictly from a signings perspective. I think the biggest thing holding us back is actually wages, because you can pay the transfer fee, but like one of the things that has been a trend in previous seasons has been that Spurs players are underpaid compared to everyone else that's in that bracket. And the other part is that they go, when the players go to their international teams and they talk to, their international teammates who are from similar like big six or big four clubs, they find out about the difference in the wages and like, what am I doing here, right? So I think that being able to break our wage structure, and I've said this before, breaking our wage structure isn't just the new player comes in and you give him the big wages. You've got to start paying your existing players that you want to keep the big wages first, and then bring in players that match the wage structure or the new wage structure. Otherwise, they will look at the new players going, why are you getting better pay than me? And then there's a lot of dissension there, and the squad harmony is broken from the time that you break it. So the wage structure is something that has to be done strategically, and you can't just start doing it for new players. You've got to bring all of your existing players that you want to keep up, and then everyone that comes in has to be paid at the new competitive wage structure. Wages for the squad are the best correlation between their position in the league, and we have generally been 6th or 7th. So anytime that we do better than 6th or 7th in wages, anytime we get a better league position than that, we're outperforming wages. So if we're not spending top 3, don't think about winning the league.
Yeah, exactly that. Dustin, thank you. Appreciate that there.
I just want to say one other thing, Harry, if that's all right. Just
absolutely,
like with the one thing I've been frustrated with, the transfer windows we've had, especially in the last couple of years, probably, for a long period of time, Spurs have always been this opportunistic club trying to find deals when they come up. Whereas when you look at some of these other clubs that, we're supposed to be compared to in this top 6, almost top 8 now, they don't do opportunistic signings. They do signings that will improve them from day one, and they know it will be the right move. Obviously, you saw Arsenal get Declan Rice. We've seen Manchester City do it over years and years. Liverpool do it. They want a player. They know this player is going to come into their team and do well. They go and spend the money. And we haven't seen Tottenham do that. Even the Morgan Gibbs-White one, for example. I mean, I loved the idea of having him. But again, we only went for him because it was that £55 million release clause that we figured out. It's Tottenham have always been this opportunistic team, and it's time for them, if they want to step up and they want to be a top team, they need to go, this player will perfectly fit us. We want him. How much do you want? 70 million? Fine, we'll pay it. And that's the difference at the moment between Tottenham and the teams we're competing against. So hopefully we see a shift in this mentality. We see a shift into a team that is aspiring to be top quality. And again, if you're willing to pay the top money, you will get top players. But we haven't seen that enough from Spurs over the past years.
Totally agree. January, hopefully we can change some of these things. Dustin,
adding on to that as well, I think that the problem with these opportunistic signings are like, it's easy to look at it and go, oh, if you make money on a player, that's fine. But they're taking up squad spaces. They're not homegrown. So you might actually not have a spot to be able to sign a player that's a better fit. And then you can think of players like, Brian Hill or Manor Solomon, where we've signed them, they've been on loan more than they've played for us, and then we just end up selling them anyway, maybe not even for a profit. And this all takes time. It takes squad management. You have to juggle homegrown slots and everything. So it isn't like free money. It's actually it actually affects the squad a lot, and it's quite detrimental to the idea of like squad harmony to have players on the books that are permanently out on loan, and then you can't do anything else with the spots that you have.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we bring on our Liverpool fan and get on to the Liverpool preview, I've got one more question. It's from the chat. Spurs diehards, they say, question for the panel: would a diamond midfield with 2 up top better suit the present squad? Interesting. I haven't thought about this before, but if you do think about it just instantly, it does seem right. That's what Frank got a lot of success out of Brentford, especially when he shut up shop against the bigger teams. Tony and Burma up front, or Tony and Visser worked very, very well. Martin, going to put that question to you. What do you think about this? The diamond midfield, which we've played in the past, for example, under Pochettino, playing 2 up front. Would it work with this Tottenham side?
I might be wrong, but I think he tried that against Chelsea before Bergwijn came off injured due to the head injury. We didn't actually see it happen because Xavi Simons sort of disrupted that. With Thomas Frank right now, I'm not sure what will help. So maybe trying that 4-1-2-1-2 system could help. But then again, he is trying to build something with his 4-2-3-1 going forward. So I'm confused with what would work or what wouldn't work, especially the fact that we don't even know what our best starting 11 is. But I would definitely prefer a 4-3-3 because if we're playing that diamond shape, that sort of limits Kudus, in my opinion, which we sort of don't want. But then again, against teams that are like Liverpool, for example, on Saturday, an ideal situation where you are able to counter-attack them. And with that 4-1-2-1-2 system, that could work wonders. But again, that would be the first game trying it properly. So I'm not sure. I think that Thomas Frank will stick with the 4-3-3 that he's been putting out all season.
Lovely stuff, Martin. Thank you very much. Let's get on to then the Liverpool preview. I'm delighted to say that we've got a fan of Liverpool on the podcast again. It's very good to get both clubs' perspective. I'm delighted to welcome on Ben from the Red or Alive TV, a YouTube channel with over 1,500 subscribers. Ben, thank you for joining me and giving me your time. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Just listening to you boys. Everyone seems down like our fans as well. Cheer up, lads. Maybe a few goals on the weekend. But look, no, I appreciate it. And as I say, it'll be good to have you on my channel tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite. I'm looking forward to that very, very much. It should be good. And Ben, I'll start with you, if you don't mind. So what have been your thoughts on Liverpool this season? I assume you find it underwhelming considering, last year walking the title and where you find yourself now. And just hearing like Liverpool fans saying, look, to get top 4, top 5 would be a really big achievement. And that just like I totally agree now where you are at this current moment. But if you said that at the start of the year, people think you're crazy.
Mate, to be honest, it's been draining, to tell you the truth. It's been aside from the title win 2025 for Liverpool, it's been a very dark year. Obviously, player dying, trade issues, a lot of change in the summer. And as I say, players turning on the manager a bit. I think it's just got a bit too much this year. Personally, mate, I am happy to have a little break. I wish the summer was closer. Do you know what I mean? It's been tough to watch. But I still think we'll get top 4. The newer players now are starting to find their feet more. Ekatike being one of them, where it's starting to, show his bits. Isak's been a bit slow, but everyone, I'm sure you boys will know, you've seen enough of him as well as I have. He will turn up eventually. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I know you just talked about the 4, the diamonds. I think that's what we'll play on the weekend. We have to. We've got 2 number 9s, so they've got to be on the pitch. But overall, mate, it's been very disappointing. We've been getting beat by, let's be honest, crap teams. But as I say, when, I think you boys are pretty similar, the mental state of the team's really low. But Liverpool seems to have they're not out the woods yet. Little turn at the corner, but I quietly confident for the weekend. I think probably both clubs think they're playing each other at the right time, I'd imagine. But I think it brings up goals, mate, so I don't know whether I'll be smiling or screaming on the weekends.
I guess we'll find out very, very shortly. But Ben, sticking with you for another question, if you don't mind. I mean, I've got to ask you, haven't I, about the whole Slot and Salah situation. You hinted at there in terms of players, a bit of civil unrest. I mean, I get the feeling you're going to back Slot here, but I could be completely wrong. I was thinking of 50-50 punt. But how do you feel about the situation?
It's a difficult one because it's caused, even when he spoke out about his contract, when Mo speaks, it causes major divide. You have people back in Salah, then you have people back in the club. I don't agree with what he's done, personally. Mo tends to do it when he wants something out of it. I think that he knows the club probably want to sell him, whether it's now or in the summer. But at the end of the day, mate, he also has to remember, Liverpool are planning for the future. Liverpool's future going forwards, attack-wise, is where it's Ekatike and Isak. And at the minute, mate, Mo Salah in particular, he hasn't been worthy of a start. He's been one of our worst players this season, so it doesn't matter. He's kicked off after a week of not playing. And let's be honest, you can't be doing that. Not with the crap that we've been going through. Sometimes it's like, shut your mouth, you're going anyway. The manager's got a plan for you with AFCON coming up. But unfortunately, he's took it a different manner. Look, the problem is, within the Liverpool fan base, you can't criticise him because people then bring up that, well, you're slagging him off for what he's done for Liverpool. No, slagging off But what he's doing now, he's been crap. Do you know what I mean? So I back the club. I don't back the manager. I don't back him on this case, mate. You know, you don't. People think it's Slot versus Salah, but he only spoke ever so smallly about the manager. He started attacking the club, saying, "Oh, people don't want me here." So at the end of the day, no player is ever bigger than your football club. Doesn't matter whether it's us or you boys. Shut your mouth, start performing, you'll be back in the team. And whether or not he returns after January remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, doesn't matter who it is. Even if Steven Gerrard talked out about the club when he was still playing, shut up. Do you know what I mean? We've got games to play, and 3 games a week, we can't afford to play. He then gets himself took out the team, who he would have started against. So a messy situation. At the end of the day, just shake hands on it like they seem to have done. And you know, we've got games to win, and we're playing catch up now, so it's not ideal.
I tell a lie because I've got one more question. It's kind of leading on from that, and it is to do with Carragher's rant. We saw 8 or 9 minutes on Sky. What do you make of that? Would you say it was a personal attack? Did he put some good points across?
He's just too emotional, isn't he? He takes it too far. Look, a lot of the things he said, I tend to agree with. You know, he talked about he's not playing well enough at the minute, which is true. You know, you ask a lot of Liverpool players, he's not been worthy to start every game. But then when he starts talking about, well, he hasn't won this for the AFCON, that's the emotion coming out of him. He's one of the worst. Do you know what I mean? I let my emotions go when I go to the match, mate, and he does it on telly. So the problem is he's in the spotlight, Jamie Carragher, and I was no surprise that, you know, when he spoke, it caused major, uproar. But look, he took it too far. It is what it is.
Thank you firstly for short answer to that. But also, I was just surprised that he got that length of time. I thought, okay, they're going to give him a few minutes to speak about the situation, but I didn't realise it was the Jamie Carragher show. I mean,
well, it was the Carragher and Salah show, weren't it, that week, mate? So you wouldn't have even thought we played Inter Milan.
No, it's very true. But even that, as you agree, Carragher really wanted Liverpool to win every game, but even more because Salah wasn't in that team. That's why I asked about the whole personal thing. But Ben, thank you so much for that. We'll come back to you in just a bit. Joseph, I'll come to you from Tottenham point of view. This game at the weekend, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, how do you feel about it? I mean, it's hard to say, isn't it, that we're confident at the moment based on recent performances and results. But how do you feel going into it?
Yeah, I can't say I'm too confident, especially after that Nottingham Forest game. Genuinely one of the worst performances I've seen this year from Tottenham against a team that, just played on Thursday. It felt like we could have kind of come away with 3 points going into the game. And by the end of it, we couldn't have been further from it. So, yeah, I mean, Liverpool are on towards an upward trajectory. I think that actually the perfect thing has happened for them in the fact that Salah's now gone to AFCON. He's kind of away from the club, and Liverpool can focus on Liverpool and not have this kind of thing in the background. And the one player I'm very scared of is Ekitike. I mean, we saw him last year for Frankfurt score at the Tottenham Stadium, and it was a great finish. I think he's an absolutely top player. He's kind of, he's allowed Isak to kind of have these wobbles to start his career and at Liverpool. And I think he's a terrific player, Ekitike. So I think the quality that Liverpool have got is alarming for a Tottenham point of view. When you've got players like Wirtz, like Ekitike, like Gakpo, like those players on the pitch, they can do some damage. And Tottenham do seem to be a bit confused, very up and down, not really sure what you're going to get from them. So you never know. We could be coming out of the game and feeling really great. We could be coming out of it on the end of a 5-0 pummeling. So we just don't know what we're going to get. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what the players can kind of do. The one thing I would say is, again, both teams have been inconsistent this season, but the one thing that Liverpool have over us is that star quality. I think when you look at their team and you look at the players they've got on the pitch, I think a lot of them are just much better footballers than some of the players that we've got on the pitch. So that's the only thing that worries me. It's about how cohesive we can be. We haven't seen a lot of cohesion from Tottenham in the last couple of weeks, especially against Forest. So yeah, be an interesting game. Always is Tottenham-Liverpool. I remember a couple of years ago that game of where they messed up the offside and it was just an absolute mess. A couple of red cards as well, and Tottenham winning in the last minute. We've had some very interesting games against Liverpool in the past, so I'm sure this one will be no different.
Exactly that. Should be good. Thank you. Martin, how do you feel about this game? Do you back Tottenham? Don't, of course, give any score predictions to anyone. We'll get to that in a bit, but how are you feeling?
No, I don't feel confident at all.
No?
I think Liverpool have actually started to turn a corner. That Inter Milan win definitely gave them a boost. I thought defensively they looked very solid that game. Ben might disagree. Against Brighton, there were a few moments where Liverpool looked like they were going to concede, but in the end, they rode out a decent victory. They had about 3-4 counter-attacks towards the end where they should have scored. So if the game should have finished probably 4-0 to Liverpool. So do I feel confident going in? The problem is if we don't start well, the fan base or the atmosphere at the stadium can turn very toxic very quickly against the team. And I think Liverpool will just grab onto that. And Liverpool have great memories coming to our stadium. Let's say apart from that EFL semi-final in January, apart from that, you look at the Premier League results in recent years and Liverpool do get a lot of joy coming to us. So again, like Joseph said, that star quality that they do have going forward. And our defence looks very shaky. We're conceding a lot of goals from a lot of different situations, whether that's set pieces, whether that's individual errors. So Tottenham might prove me wrong, but I think that I don't see any light at the end of this tunnel.
No, okay, fair enough. Martin, actually, going to stick with you. I just want to ask something because I was thinking about it the other day, right? Because we start off good defensively under Frank. How much of that, I don't know. I mean, by all means, say what you think, but how much of it is the fact that Frank's new manager? We've seen, haven't we, like, whether it be Nuno, whoever it may be at the start of Tottenham, Mourinho, that we go top, for example, don't concede many goals. But the point is, I just think that our attack's so, I'm sorry to say, dire at the moment, mainly because of players who got out, but also, look, apart from Kudos, no investment in any attacking position. In the window, for example, we let 3 left wingers go in Werner, in Solomon and Son, and brought no replacement in, not one altogether. I mean, that's unheard of, for example. So do you think that, going around the houses here, but because we're dire in attack, got nothing going forward, that puts pressure on the defence, and we're now seeing them crumble?
Okay, that's a good point. I think it's more to do with the midfield as well, because they can't seem to string 3 passes together, and they failed to transition it to the front line. So that's causing big issues. And also when we lose the ball on our transition, there's massive gaps between the midfielders and defenders. So, but yeah, so I'd say it's more to do with the transition side of us losing the ball and us also. We can argue definitely that the front line quality is poor compared to previous years. I mean, if we compare, for example, Mourinho's or Conte's front three and this front three that we're serving now with Kudus, Richarlison, and let's say Kolo Muani, on paper it looks good, but if you watch the performances, it's absolutely off the spectrum. So, and individual errors are causing a lot of our goals. I mean, we're up there with Wolves, right? I think there's around 20 individual errors that have led to shots this season, like let alone this season. So I think there's a lot of different problems, but definitely if you're not dangerous going forward, then that's going to put more pressure on the defense to try and not concede. Because if you can't create any chance, then you just end up losing by 1, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's a good point, but I definitely feel that the midfield is failing to get any hold of the game and actually feed in any of our front three. So there's a lot of issues all around the pitch, but I wouldn't just blame the front three. There's definitely different issues to look at.
Okay. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate that. And Dustin, I mean, how do you feel about the game? How are you confident for this one that we can take the fight to Liverpool? We can, bounce off ultimately that home win against Brentford in the Premier League?
Not much confidence going into this. And I think it's part of what Martin said as well, which is I don't see our attacking patterns of play, right? We have 7 through balls all season. This is for me the most damning indictment of like the way that we develop play, or rather don't. So what I don't see is if our pattern of play or like how we intend to attack teams seems to be long throws, set pieces, and winning duels. That's not a pattern of play. That's not an attacking idea. That is just, a very reactive style of chance creation. So that to me is the biggest problem that we have. And the midfield balance is also like off. So I feel that 2 of the biggest problems we have is that we have a central midfield and a left wing problem. And it's not that we lack players in the position, but they all don't have the right attributes, and we end up having to mix a whole bunch of players together, and we make all kinds of trade-offs just to get attributes that we need for the game. So, for example, if we need a combative midfielder, we put Paulinho in there. He's a person that doesn't progress the ball, and you basically need two creative midfielders to make up for the fact that Paulinho doesn't really have much progressive passing ability. But when you put two creative midfielders in, then the trade-off is that you only have like one pivot player or one defensive midfielder. Ideally, you would have players that have a mix of attributes so that they can do a little bit of both, and you have three players with hybrid abilities, maybe some better in defensive, some better in progressing play. But what we have are very, very kind of single purpose players, and when you put one there, the trade-off is that you don't get to do the other parts that you need them to do as well. We have the same problem down the left, where we have lots of hybrid players that can play on the left. So you could put Tel there, you could put Kolomoani there, you could put Richarlison there, but none of them are dedicated left wingers. The only one we have is Odegaard, and Odegaard has a confidence problem where sometimes he turns it on and sometimes he just can't do it. So we don't have a reliable left winger, even though we have theoretically like 5 or 6 players that can play there, but there's no one there that makes the spot their own and has an ability that is high enough that it creates pockets of chances by drawing defenders over. There's no one that Liverpool would fear enough to commit 2 people to it. So if we had not necessarily a player like Kudus, but Kudus, draws players over, and that creates space because he gets double teamed. It creates pockets of space somewhere else that can be exploited if he lifts it up and makes that pass. Whereas we don't have that on the left at all. So for most teams, they figured out man mark Kudus, and you've got it mostly sorted.
Okay, Dustin, thank you very much. Ben, how do you feel about the game as a Liverpool fan? You mentioned there about being quietly confident. Would you like to elaborate a little bit further on that and explain why?
I think there's more pressure on you in your grounds than it is for us. I think people have kind of accepted we're not going to be winning a league title as such this year. I think maybe we'll do all right in the cups, whether it be FA Cup or Champions League. I think better suited for that at the minute. I think a few wins for us may put us in the mix, but can't guarantee it. I think like you boys, too inconsistent, both of these sides at the minute. We've had so much change, so you don't even know what to expect. But am I confident? Yeah, slightly, but because I think sooner or later someone's going to face a proper Liverpool side, and I think I haven't really, to be honest, watched much of Spurs this year, and the reason being is because Liverpool have done me head in that much. I haven't even been bothered to watch the footy, mate, so I've just turned it off, or not just finished, gone the match and just gone home, just turned the telly off. However, I think from what I get, your crowd could easily turn on your team at the minute. Obviously, I've seen a few little things. I was watching you boys before I come on, so I get, I understand a bit more what you're saying. And I think the way yous have got to attack us, and I think that may just play right into our hands. Whether or not it's the greatest attack coming at us, I don't really know because I haven't watched much of yous. But
I was about to say, Ben, we can't attack. That's our problem.
we can't defend either.
But then it's going to be a crap game of football.
Do you know what, though, mate? Some of our players, you mentioned it before in particular, Joe, the star quality there, and there is sheer quality. It's just that we've not seen enough of it this year for whatever reason. But I don't know, something about the Spurs game always kickstarts Liverpool for some reason, whether good or sometimes bad. But there's always goals, and look, we haven't scored many goals recently, but there's a lot of goals in our team. Maybe a few little changes, because obviously Liverpool have got a couple of injuries. But I still fancy us against yous, because I think if yous don't score in the first 20 minutes, your crowd are going to get on your back, and I think that's when Liverpool grow into the game. And if we get our foot on the game, I think it'll be very difficult for you boys to get it back into your favour.
You just say there, you think you've got goals in the team, and I'm just thinking, oh yeah, for goodness sake, Tottenham are next. And they haven't come out yet. You're almost like, you've got goals. We haven't really seen it yet. Oh no, this was a good opportunity. I hope I'm wrong. But Ben, you touched on it there. But what do you think of the job in particular Thomas Frank has done so far as Spurs manager? Because Tottenham currently sit 11th in the Premier League, a little bit prettier in the Champions League with 2 games to go, in a fairly healthy position.
Yeah, it's. Do you know what, mate? I do think he's a nice fella. I've seen him many times at Anfield, and I've seen when his Brentford sides came to us, he seemed a good coach. Looks like the club's too big for him, perhaps. I don't know, something. It's a difficult club, Spurs. You've come off the back of winning a trophy, so now expectations have obviously gone up, and rightfully so. Tottenham don't win enough for the club they are. Do you know what I mean? And I can't stand them fellas down the road from you, the one in red. So Daddy's win a lot more than them. I don't know, mate. The way you are talking about it, I don't know. Was he picking the wrong players? I did see that video of was it Jed Spence and someone? They didn't even look at him when they were coming off the pitch. So you have had your own internal issues yourselves, haven't you? I don't really know as much because I haven't watched much of this year. However, it's obviously you can't be lasting long if it's carrying on like this for Spurs. You can't win a trophy and still be playing like that in the league, can you?
I think that's the thing. Like, I'd actually like to ask everybody, including yourself, Ben. Obviously, again, for you, if you haven't seen too much of Tottenham, maybe you wouldn't know too much. But for me, obviously, I consider and say I really don't like the tactics I've seen from Frank. And again, like especially after that game against Nottingham Forest, I mean, it was one of the worst performances we've had all year.
Yeah.
For each of you, do you think it's the tactics that are the problem, or do you think it's the players, or is it maybe a mixture of both? I think it probably is a mixture of both. I think there's probably players that we overhype that aren't as good as we probably think, or we actually think they are. But for me, it's hard for me to support Frank when I haven't seen really. There's nothing for me to hold on to, for me to sit there and go, this is improving under Frank, this is getting better. Or I haven't even seen any little glimpses in games where I've gone, oh, I see what he's done there. I see what they're trying to do there. There isn't any of that. All I see is a team that's disconnected, that's disjointed, and they don't really know how to play football together. And the biggest issue, the glaring issue, is the lack of creation. Okay, I understand these players aren't maybe Son and Kane of the past, but these are all international football players that play for their country, and these are top footballers. These aren't terrible footballers. We've seen him do better with players at Brentford that aren't probably as good. So what for me, I'm really struggling to see the positives that Frank has brought Tottenham, because I don't think we're that much better defensively. I know we play a better defensive brand of football, but we're still conceding many goals and we're making silly errors like we did under Ange. So I don't know. For me, it's really hard to see. It's really hard to defend Frank right now.
Yeah, we're not only conceding a lot of goals, we're also conceding a lot of chances that aren't turning into goals. So, I mean, a lot of the games we've actually drawn this season, we should have lost, including Champions League games. So, I think it's definitely...
Sorry for interrupting you, man, but the one game was like Wolves. Wolves at home. I mean, we almost lost that game. We deserved to lose the game. And we've seen Wolves since. They are awful. They are absolutely terrible. They can't play or get well against anyone. And they were better than us by far.
That's one of them. The other one is AS Monaco in the Champions League, which was the last time I was on this podcast. We should have lost like 4 or 5-0. Vicario literally got a 10 out of 10 rating from SofaScore. It's crazy.
I've forgotten that now, isn't it? Let's be honest with you now. That's completely
So it's definitely a combination between Frank's tactics and the players not performing to the high level, whether that's them not believing in the tactics of the manager and also their confidence levels. For example, that Forest game, the first half, Colin Mwani was playing as the left forward. So that left wing side was completely free, which I just didn't understand what we were trying to build, because we weren't actually attacking through the middle. There was a lot of the passes actually went to that left wing side, whether that was by Archie Gray or Xavi Simons, and it was actually Jed Spence running down there. So I was really confused as in what was the goal? How were we actually planning to break down Forest? So it's definitely a combination. Like it doesn't just have to be the manager. It doesn't just have to be the players. It's definitely a combination. It's also not helping that Frank hasn't properly found his best 11. And when he thought he had found his best 11, that we won 2 games in a row, we played into Forest's traps, and we basically were the artists of our own downfall that game. So it's the problem with Frank right now is, as Ben has mentioned, that maybe that job is too big for Frank, that maybe he's starting to panic, that he's realised, okay, I've lost 2 games in a row, or we're slipping down the table, we need to go more defensive to maybe get a point, or he's maybe panicking himself in. I might be completely wrong, because Thomas Frank is no idiot. I think he's a great manager, but maybe there's a lot of different issues happening right now. Also, the players are having to adapt from such an offensive style of play to suddenly a very tactical. Mickey Van der Ven mentioned in that interview that with Thomas Frank, it's much more Italian style, these meetings where the focus is a lot on the opposition. So It's a combination, definitely, but we can't ignore Frank's tactics because that XG indicator that we've had around 10 games where our XG has been below 1, it's definitely a combination there that we do, on paper, have very high quality players that are creating 0 chances. So there's definitely something wrong with the system, definitely.
Okay, thank you very much. Dustin, I come to you. Prepared a few little slides here. You'd like to talk people through it. You've got here about in terms of Spurs and the build-up and positioning.
This is exactly illustrating what Martin was talking about, right? Where we build up on the left, right? But why is anyone in the center, right? So there are a few things that Frank is doing that like I find inexplicable. So one is, why are we setting up in this way where there's so much space in the center, and the other is the whole long shots thing, which is he thinks long shots are low percentage chances. That's why we allow the third most long shots in the league, and we've conceded like 3 long shots against PSG, 2 in this game against Forest, and multiple games that we've conceded at least 2 long shots or 1. And he still thinks they're low percentage chances. But if you communicate that to your players, they're gonna be like, okay, opponent's taking a long shot, and my coach doesn't think it's an issue, so just let them take it, and that's why we concede more.
We've seen that so many times this year. The amount of times we backed off on the edge of the box and just let a player stroll onto the edge of the D and have a shot. And these are all international quality, world-class footballers. I mean, the Premier League is as competitive as it has ever been. I mean, Ibrahim Sangare, a rotational midfielder for Nottingham Forest, has just put that one top bins. Anyone can do it. So it's just a massive issue. This is where I'm really struggling to defend Frank. I understand, giving him time and letting him maybe try and steady the ship and fix things. I completely agree. And the other thing as well is if you were to sack Frank, who's going to come in and solve it? I don't think there is a manager available to do that right now. But it's just there's glaring issues, one with personnel, but clearly with tactics, because I feel like he could get more out of this team than he's getting. And like you said previously, Harry, on this podcast, the league is so tight. A couple of good performances go our way. We're back in 6th, we're back in 5th, we're close to it. But a couple of performances go the other way, a couple of results go the other way. We're close to the relegation zone. So it's really every point and every game matters. And for me, I'm just seeing awful performance after awful performance. And that's what's scaring me the most, because we just look void of any kind of creativity, any kind of tactical awareness. I mean, that slide before is damning. The fact that, again, is this a player issue? Are they players just not listening to the tactics, or are they doing what's being told and leaving glaring issues, creating glaring issues? It's a really confusing one at the moment with Frank and Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Joseph, thank you. And Dustin, if you don't mind going back to that previous slide, because just the positioning concerns me a lot, and I've been very vocal that I am behind Frank, etc. And I do stand by that. Joseph makes some really good points, by the way. We haven't seen enough to get behind. This is purely for me based on the fact, and I'll be totally honest and frank with you, no pun intended, that it's more about that we chop and change managers so quickly. It's more about what Frank's done in the past, more than what we've seen so far with him at Spurs. I'm hoping we'll see a lot more. Look at the Newcastle game. We go defensive grit, and to come back twice at James Park, get a result, even if Newcastle aren't the best this year. That's a big thing. But Brentford and Slavia Prague, it's nothing exceptional. It's good. We're happy, but it's probably what was expected. But in this, it's the positioning, right? Because Sangare is a really good shot, right? Not many people will score from there. Joseph is right that you can score from distance. And what's concerning, though, Sangare could have taken another 2 touches. He probably could have got past Paulinho as well. But I think it's Gibbs White there that's free. Then Davies isn't looking behind him, and you've already got someone else playing them on side. So everyone in that shot really well, apart from one, is on side. And there's no one really marked. There's one person on the penalty spot there. There's no one anywhere near. He can get the ball easily, turn and shoot. It's just the position for me is so concerning. I just think, and one thing I will say before we get on to score predictions, etc., I think losing Maddison has really cost us, because he's very similar in my eyes to what Frank had with Mikael Damsgaard at Brentford. They just play football, I think, very similar. And we forget how important I think Damsgaard was for Brentford, not making excuses or anything. It could be completely wrong to put 2 and 2 together, but if you look at the success that Mbama had, Tony, Visser, all at different points and sometimes together, I don't think it would have been possible without the midfield that Brentford had. I think a big part of that was Damsgaard, and Maddison, of course, getting injured on the pre-season tour. So actually, we'll put that across to you, Martin? Do you think this has had, of course, it will have an impact. Do you think maybe it's having a bigger one that people recognise, including Spurs fans, that losing someone like Maddison for dressing room morale and for the type of player he is has meant that we've shut up shop, and then now there's more pressure on the defence?
Yes, potentially, especially the fact that Xavi Simons hasn't been starting until the past 3 games. So that that quality of a number 10 is definitely missing. And but again, it's not an excuse because James Maddison got injured during the pre-season. Yeah, so there was enough time to plan for what was ahead, and we all knew that that was a long-term injury. So either invest in a number 10 during the summer, which we sort of did with Xavi Simons. Of course, he took time to adapt, but I think Xavi Simons has qualities to play in one of our front forwards with the through balls or calm the play down. He just isn't really being used in that correct position, and he, like James Maddison's a huge miss. There's no question about it. It's every team in the Premier League has those 2-3 players that when they get injured, the team performance drops to a certain level. So he's definitely being missed, but I don't think it's a good enough excuse to look at it now in December when he's been missing for 4 months and sort of take the blame away from Frank or from any adaptation, because there are certain players in the squad who should have qualities to be able to sort of dictate tempo, whether that's even, let's include Bentancur in the conversation. So but definitely James Maddison's a massive miss, and he will be a massive miss until he gets fit, and that will obviously take some time. We've seen Dragusin been back from that from his ACL, and he's already been training for 2 months, and he's still not even in the matchday squad. So massive miss, definitely, but not a good enough excuse because we have signed a player as Xavi Simons who should have similar qualities to be able to control a game like James Maddison.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. We appreciate that, Martin. So there's one question in the chat, and then we get on to score predictions and end the season predictions for Tottenham and Liverpool, which should be good. But Spurs fans, there's opinions on Richarlison, and he said later that he's asked the Spurs fans. Of course, you'll know that a lot of clubs, in terms of their fans, won't be keen on Richarlison, one of those players that, you like him if he's yours sometimes, unless he doesn't play well, and then he doesn't play for you. Dustin, can I ask you?
Ask the Liverpool fan first.
Should I? Oh God! All right, I'll put it to you first. Then go on. Joseph has said,
he's not our mate, is he? When he played for the Blue Shades. No, he's one of them. He's that type of player. You like him if he plays for you. We despise him, of course. But I think he's popped up. I mean, he's scored a few this season. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, he's doing good form. I mean, the stats, like, we don't believe it as Spurs fans, like something like 17 goals in 25 or 26. It's not what we thought, but it doesn't feel like it, but his numbers are good. So, there you go. Bit of a surprise, but thank you. We do appreciate that. Dustin, Richarlison right now, how do you feel about him? Is he one of those players that's hot and cold, or has he actually turned a corner and hit a really good patch of form that could last?
Richarlison is an agent of chaos, so he's fine if you need someone to create chaos in the box and be plucky and pressure teams and everything. But if you intend to be a team that controls the play, controls possession, there was a game against Forest, right? His first touch pushed the ball out like 20 yards, right, when Xavi Simons was breaking. Xavi's expression as he saw the first touch, he's like, it was ridiculous. So, look, I think that he provides a lot for what he has the ability to provide. And the issue is that if you put him in a position where his attributes don't fit that, I think that's what we're doing. We're just stuck with what he can do. He can't really control the ball. He can't really hold up play. He can't really help in build up. He's a finisher that just finishes when you provide him the right ball. But if you give him time to think, then he can't control it. He can't really dribble it. If you're doing that, Brennan Johnson's probably a better finisher than he is, right? And we're trying to sell him. So I would say that he's a bit better in the air, but for the attributes or the style of play that we would like from Spurs, I don't see what he provides that makes him more of a first 11 player than Muani. And I think that's my issue with Frank as well, because if Frank's playing the way I like, Mwani's dead cert for, starting striker, but he's not. So that tells me that Frank wants to play a very, very different way.
Thank you. Let's whiz through the panel then and get score predictions. Joseph, kick us off. Can I get your score prediction for this game and who you think is going to score?
I'll go 3-1 to Liverpool. I think I could see Ekitike getting a brace. The last couple of weeks I've been so impressed with him, his finishing, his especially even with everything that's going on with Isaac and him and how they haven't always played together. I feel like Ekitike has just got onto the pitch and always shown it through his football. He doesn't need to talk. He's there to play, and he's been really impressive so far. So I think Ekitike can get a couple. Maybe give one to, I don't know, Gakpo. I'm not sure who's exactly fit and who isn't. I think Szoboszlai might be injured. So there's a couple of players that Liverpool might be missing. But again, they've got enough on the pitch to get through our defence, definitely. And for Tottenham, we'll give it to Paulinho. I mean, he likes popping up with a goal every now and then. But again, it's hard for me to feel too positively about this game. I can't see Tottenham getting too much from it. But again, we hope. I hope to be proven wrong. I hope I see something different.
Hopefully so. Thank you, Joseph. You go 3-1 Liverpool there. Martin, can I get your score prediction and same with the scorers as well, please?
I'm saying 3-0 to Liverpool. Yeah, I'm going to be brutally honest with what I'm thinking. And of course, Dr. Tottenham to the rescue. So Florian Wirtz, first goal in the Premier League. What a lovely time to get his first goal in. And obviously, Alexander Isak hasn't hit the ground particularly running. So, no, I'm joking. If I'm being honest, I think Ekitike is definitely scoring. And it wouldn't surprise me if Wirtz or Isak managed to score because, they have huge quality. But I think Szoboszlai might get onto the score sheet. And I'm going to say they're going to score from a corner late on. We'll be mentally completely out the game. So I think Van Dijk gets on ahead of one of the crosses. So, yeah, 3-0.
Very specific. Thank you, Martin. I appreciate that. I think you're both being negative. I never give my score prediction, but I actually think that Tottenham will get a draw. And do you know why I actually think this? Because both teams can benefit from a win. That's the thing. I think Frank's job out of the two is probably more at risk, but maybe a win to Liverpool means a little bit more in terms of it really looks like they've turned a corner. If that kind of makes sense almost. But it's one of those games that both teams can really benefit from a win. A draw doesn't really change too much drastically. So I can see it ending a draw and going 2-2. But Dustin, are you predicting a Spurs loss?
It depends on how we play. So one of the themes that have gotten joy for players, for teams that play against Liverpool, is if they press Konate. So I think that if this is one of the games that I think Paulinho should start primarily for pressing Konate. Phil Foden did it, Doku did it as well. So I think that if we press Konate and if we score first, we have a chance. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. And I think that, going on the Dr. Tottenham theme, Van der Ven did say that, Isak is one of the players that he's had the toughest game against. And I worry that Isak's going to start his form on Van der Ven. And I think it might be 4 or 5-0.
God, 4 or 5-0.
Usually I'm the most pessimistic one here. And I've got two people,
I'm normally the positive one, by the way, believe it or not.
Same. I'm also very positive, but
I left you. I've done it deliberately as well. I thought
this is what Frank's football's done. This is what it's doing to Tottenham fans. I'm telling you.
Reverse order to what I expected. I mean, it was playing tricking me, I think. But hey, I hope results come early. We're nearly at 2026. But thank you all for that. And Ben, can I get, as a Liverpool fan, your score prediction of who you think's going to score? I mean, everyone else is backing you. I haven't quite. I mean, did think about it. So come on, you've got back your side in this case.
I'll have to get Dustin, Martin, and Joe on my channel. They're more positive than some of our lot. I am quietly confident because I think these players are starting to gel more. I know you mentioned about just before the score prediction. You have talked about some of Liverpool's injuries. I think Szoboszlai will be fit, but I think he'll be on the bench. So it wouldn't surprise me if McAllister, Gravenberch, and Jones start in the 3 with Wirtz at the tip, with Isak and Ekitike. And Bradley's likely to come in. Joe Gomez picked up a knock. So it'd probably be Alisson, Bradley, Konate, Van Dijk, Kerkez, McAllister, Gravenberch, Jones, Wirtz, Ekitike, Isak. So when you look at it on paper, it's a top side. They've just not performed enough this year. But I think, like Joe, 3-1, I do. I can see Isak getting a few goals in this game, and Ekitike again. And hopefully Florian Wirtz, because, he's caused murder online about the Cherky debate. But I don't know what you boys actually think. Just before I go, what do you think of Florian Wirtz? Because he's took a lot of shite in the media. What have you seen anything with regards to him in particular?
For me, I think he has obviously struggled to adapt to the Premier League slightly, but I think that's understandable. I think coming from the Bundesliga, when we're seeing it.
As well.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it with Xavi Simons. We've seen it with our own player from the Bundesliga, and it's not an easy league to adapt to. But even then, you can see the quality he has in moments. You've seen it in Europe as well. There's definitely quality there. It's just going to take him a bit of time, but without a doubt, I think he'll be a top player for Liverpool in the coming years. Maybe again, just a couple of things to iron out and for him to get used to.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's understandable. Because I like Xavi Simons as well. He was a player that Liverpool were talking about, in the summer, ramping up with regards to number 10. Because we were looking for that creative spark, with losing tempo. No, I think he's got a cracking play there. And he's mentioned Maddison before. It's a shame he's not fixed. I actually watch his YouTube channel. He's a cracking lad, him. And I think he's been a great player for Spurs. And as I say, I have this debate all the time. You have people saying Isak's crap or something like that. But, some of the things that, like Maddison mentions on it, he's just done another video with regards to his ACL recovery. And he mentions match fitness. People don't understand how difficult it is to get match fitness. And Isak's basically playing catch-up. And that's the shame for Maddison, because when he comes back in, he's then playing catch-up. And he's such a talented lad, him. And it's a shame that he's not playing, because I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a cracking player for Spurs.
He's such a leader. He's such a leader.
Yeah.
It's a massive miss for Spurs. He's such a
good lad that get these bad injuries, and do you know what? Yeah. His head must be fried. And look at that young lad we brought in, Leone, played his debut at Anfield, 45 minutes, does his ACL, and he's out for nearly a year or so. And it's the worst injury. You just don't know, do you, what they're like when they come back?
Hopefully that'll be all right.
I think this is also kind of the thing that I saw from like the Son documentary as well. When you see his presence in the dressing room, right? That's the part that's now missing, where he would, all the youth team players knew him. He would always be talking to everyone, and like Romero's not that kind of captain. So I think if Maddison was fit, from a squad perspective, he would also be there, talking to all the players, making sure that the youth team players are integrating with the first team and everything. So that's the other part I'm missing as well. The other part about like players from the Bundesliga, I think that one of the things that City has is that they have time to buy an expensive player, have him sit on the bench for 2 or 3 seasons, and for everyone to say that they're shit, and then they integrate into the squad. But for most other teams, you can't afford to sign a player for that amount of money and not see them play for a season and a half. And I think that's actually the biggest like financial doping thing that City has, which is they can afford to buy really expensive players and just slowly integrate them over 2-3 seasons, whereas we need them to perform now.
So true. Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head, and not for the first time tonight, Dustin. Thank you so much.
What's your score prediction, Harry? Get something positive.
Yeah, 2-2, I think I'll go with. I think we'll get a draw. I mean, you know me, by now I tend to be more positive. I think it'll be a draw. He has written all over it. So no, thanks for asking. I don't often give it, but I think a draw. But we'll have to see. I mean, I'd love us to win, but I just can't see it. But you don't know. Both teams struggling. Both managers need a result. Could go either way. But I don't think it'll be as interesting as it was in the past. You guys have, we said, haven't we, plenty of times where we think Spurs have finished. I mean, probably none of it is close to where we are now. Let's be real. But Ben, I'll ask you, because we've been in contact for a while, but first time coming on the podcast. Firstly, where do you think that your club, Liverpool, will finish in the Premier League come the end of the year?
That's a pressure question, mate, to end the show on. Third.
Yeah, you believe that?
Yeah, well, I think third, and Liverpool will go for the Champions League.
Okay, nice. What about FA Cup? How far do you think you'll get? Of course, you're known for, I don't say down in tools, it sounds horrible, but, playing younger players, let's say, in the FA Cup.
Yeah, for the League Cup, I can understand, I understand the manager does it. Not that I'm a fan of it at all, not because I don't like throwing any cup down the drain, but I think the FA Cup and the Champions League, they'll have their eyes on that. Because they have to. Liverpool have to win trophies, and with the money they've spent, It's one of them. They've got to be in the mix for it. I think there'll be silverware at Anfield this year. Whatever it is, I'm unsure. But if it's the Champions League, I'll take that with a 3rd place finish.
I'm going to be horrible, but if I said to you now, right, you could keep one and bin one literally right now on the spot between Salah or Slot. Right now, you never see one again, connected with Liverpool. Which way would you go?
Pressure time here, boys. Look, I don't think Slot's the right manager for Liverpool, personally. I was going to look. I think Liverpool, with the players they've got, I think they need a bigger manager. Personally, that's not discrediting what he's done for Liverpool. He was amazing last year, but there's a lot of scar tissue this year, so it's hard to recover from it. And that may be the situation with Thomas Frank. I don't know. If I was going to pick between them two, I'm backing Mo Salah all the time. But look, Mo's going to go, so both of them are going, aren't they? So it is one of them. But I would back Salah over Slot any day of the week.
You're hinting there.
So do you think Slot is like your Roberto Di Matteo?
No, do you know, it's one of them. I think, look, he was never Liverpool's top choice. Alonso was the top choice after Jurgen Klopp. What Slot done, it was amazing. But I think what he did last year is, I think for 60% of the season, he left it as closely to Jurgen's side as possible. Towards the end of it, when he started putting his touch on it, I felt like Liverpool started conceding goals a bit. And it's carried on this year. As I say, there's still time. Hopefully he turned. I'd love nothing more than for him to turn it round and Liverpool go and win a Champions League, get 3rd place. Even I still want to win the league. But unfortunately, I don't know if the club think he's the right one. And as I say, when players are kicking off, it's a hard way back, isn't it? But I think they're playing on. They realised recently that shit, we play for Liverpool Football Club. We need to sort ourselves out. Because I tell you what, mate, it's not been a nice feeling. Watching these lads recently, they've been very, very bad. And I know they've had a difficult summer, but I just think, going off what the manager's done this year, he's got a lot wrong, Arne Slot, but he's a nice fella. I hope he turns it round. I don't know if he will, personally.
Okay, good stuff. Any final comments from anyone before we end the podcast? Let me know if you do. No? Okay, no worries. I think we're all good. That wraps up nicely for this Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. Liverpool preview. We've touched on the Jan window. Son documentary. Van der Ven, his interview with Gary Neville for the overlap. Johnson's future. A lot of things covered in an hour and 22. It's not bad at all. Thank you, everyone that's tuned in or be live on YouTube and has got involved. Big up to all of you. Reminder, you can listen after on YouTube. You may be doing so the time this episode gets to you. And of course, they're available as well across all major podcast platforms from Tuesday lunchtime, so do check that out. But big thanks to everyone that's come on as well tonight. Starting with Joseph, thank you very much, my friend. Where can people follow you across social media?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Again, great host as always, Harry, and it was great to meet some new people. Really enjoyed having this chat. So yeah, thank you for having me. You can follow me, Joseph THFC on X, just kind of putting my own thoughts out there. Try and be positive as I can, but I think usually some negative kind of ranting going on my page. But yeah, feel free to go and follow me. And again, really look forward to more podcasts in the future. So yeah, thank you for having me.
No, you're absolutely, all right. And we're getting you on a lot more, hopefully, as well in 2026. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Joseph, very, very much. And Martin, joining us from outside the UK. Remind people where you are joining from, and also please do plug your socials.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure being on. Pleasure meeting new people. So yeah, I'm joining in from Slovakia, and you can find me on my socials also on X. So Martin and 3_ Frank, but that's not the Thomas Frank. That's FRANC.
That's good to know, because you won't have to change it then if anything goes wrong, and you know your buttons hit by the owners.
I have more offensive style football ideas than Thomas Frank.
Very good. Love it. Thank you, Martin, very much. Dustin, always a pleasure joining us from Singapore. I mean, what time is it there now? 4:31? Is that right?
Yeah,
in the morning?
4:30.
It's 3 a.m. I mean, if I woke you up, firstly, I apologise. Let us know your plans for the rest of the day, and please do plug your socials.
Right. You can find me on X or Twitter. It's LUMINYR.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time. And Ben, great to have you on. Talk to people about your channel, your podcast, your socials. Plug it all, my friend.
It's a madhouse. You'll see tomorrow, mate, when you come on. So it's been up and down this year, but hopefully gets a little bit better as the season goes on. But look, I just want to say it's great to meet you, lads. Harry, congratulations. I believe you won an award, so I've seen a little bit on social media. So look, I understand how difficult it is doing the grind, especially when the teams are playing crap. But at least dig deep, lads, and, you know, fair play to you. Hopefully good rewards still come to you. And look, you know, hopefully it's a good game on the weekend. Hopefully I win. And, you know, I'm glad that you boys said the Liverpool to win as well. So that was a good sign. But look, there's our socials. The channel I have is Red or Alive TV. Going live after this show as well. So, yeah, but look, make sure you come over tomorrow when Harry's on with me and give him a bit of support. Hopefully bring some more Liverpool win predictions as well. Cheers anyway, lads.
No, thank you. Great to have you on. Hopefully, I'll be honest with you. I just want to wrap up again. I said at the start, I'll say it again for anyone that didn't hear it as well. Big thank you to just come in terms of views among football fan channels in 2025. We're 77th place. Of course, we've got a huge number. That's across all football fan channels across YouTube, and you can imagine there are hundreds. With 1.1 million views on the channel, which is just like, I mean, it's absolutely crazy, mind-blowing. I mean, it started, by the way, on a little iPad that used to cut out from storage halfway through with about 2 people watching, and 3 was a massive achievement that, go run around the bedroom, no joke. So how far it's come is great. So thank you very much for making all of that possible. If you are listening on YouTube, like I said, subscribe. If you're listening via audio platforms, please to follow and a 5-star review. Thank you very much for continued support, and enjoy the game as well at the weekend. But in literally, just gets right, 11 minutes time will be the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast hosted by me. So grab a coffee, a beer, whatever you may be doing or getting with you, because we'll be reviewing. Well, we're looking a little bit of the season so far, mainly to review game week 16, but mainly be focusing on this weekend, game week 17. It should be a good one. So join me in 11 minutes time. Thank you. Don't go anywhere.